My name is Amithi, Amithi Ravi. For the past 17 years of my life, this is the name I've used to introduce myself when I meet new people. Or the name I use at Starbucks, even though I know I usually have to spell it out for them more than 3 times. But I still continue to use it because it's so much more Americanized than the other version of this name, Amithi, the name I use at home, or the name I use whenever I meet that random auntie who claims to know me, and the name that my grandfather chose for me. I have this habit of searching up people's names on Google, whether it be to search up the name of someone I just met, or to add on to my list of unfinished baby names. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember. But whenever I searched up my own name on Google, I wouldn't always immediately find the definition. And even if I did, I would focus more on the statistics of how my name was not on the top 100 list of baby names in the United States, or the fact that I've never actually met anybody with the same name as me. So I would always hound on my grandfather for giving me a name that, in my opinion, was kind of dumb. And every single time I would mention it, he would search it up and show me the definition. Unique. My name means unique. The dictionary definition of that word, being the only one of its kind and unlike anything else. But during this period of time, I used to question this meaning of being different. What if I didn't want to be different? What if I didn't want a name that people struggle to pronounce? What if I just wanted to fit in? And this is where the version Amithi derived from. After a certain age, I made sure that the use of Amithi was strictly confined within the house, and anywhere outside of those 4 walls, I would only respond to Amithi. In 2016, when my grandfather last visited the US, there was this one day where he decided to surprise me at school. After walking 5 miles in the 95 degrees California heat, he called out the name Amithi and stood in front of me with open arms. The same arms that I never used to hesitate to run into. The same arms that caught me when I was learning how to ride a bike. And the same arms that held me when I was first born. But instead of running up to him like he expected, I was embarrassed. My unrealistic need to be more American made me embarrassed. And so for the first time, I walked past him. We walked home together a few minutes after that incident, but I was always either 10 steps ahead of him or behind him to the point where to anyone else, it looked like we didn't even know each other. I thought that the surrounding people would judge me. For what? Walking next to my grandfather? One of the only people who has shown me unconditional love? Getting home after that walk, I immediately stomped my way to the kitchen, my very obvious anger shining through everything I did. And I confronted my mom, yelling right to her face in English, "Why did you let him come to school? Why did you let him embarrass me like that?" My grandma, who was right there, didn't understand English, so she thought nothing of it. But what I didn't know at the time was that my grandfather, who fully understands English, was standing right outside the kitchen, listening to me, his only granddaughter at the time, yell about how I didn't like him. After I left the kitchen, he went and apologized to my mom, and then he came knocking on my door. Being dismissive and disrespectful, I opened the door with full force. "What do you want now?" He apologized to me, and I decided to close the door on my grandpa. For the rest of his time in the US, he would always distance himself from me, but to be honest, I was grateful that we always had some space between us. So when he left back to India, I felt a weight lift off my chest. As I went back to school after that summer, I would always try so hard to not have any Indian friends. And I went to extreme lengths to distance myself from the Indians in my classroom because I thought that being around them would make me fit into the generic stereotype. This led me to take a step further and further away from a piece of me that I couldn't change, an exterior piece of me that could be identified immediately. But the same Indian side that I didn't want to embrace in the US, I was openly proud of during my trips to India. When I was there, I wasn't ashamed or embarrassed of who I was because everyone was Indian. With my grandpa, there was no 5 to 10 foot distance in public this time, and we would even go around town, hand in hand even, acting like nothing was ever wrong with us. He would be so excited to introduce me to all his friends, ఇది అమితి. ఈ మనవరాలందరిలోకి మంచిది, నాకు చచ్చే అనిపిస్తుంది. And just like that, he would tell everyone how I was his favorite grandkid. At the time, I was obviously very flattered, but it didn't hit me until later that if he were to do this in America, I wouldn't have had the same reactions. Even after everything I did to him, he still told me that he wouldn't trade me for anything in the world. And you would expect this to be an eye-opening moment, but when I stepped back into this country, everything fell back into its previous cycle, and here I was once again trying to disassociate myself with being Indian. December 26th, 2018, the winter break of 9th grade. My family was out to Big Bear with some friends and family, and my mom decided to call my grandparents. Hey, Ami, come here, real quick. Your grandpa wants to talk. And without a second thought, I responded, no, not right now. I don't really want to talk to him. Looking back now, that was one of the biggest mistakes I made that year. 4 days later, the night of January 3rd, 2019, I was out with my friends, and I got a text from my mom saying, hey, Ami, can you call your grandpa? You haven't talked to him in months. And for the sake of my mom, Amithi now, that I was able to grow as an individual. All of us. We will always be changing, but every change we go through, whether it be intentional or unintentional, should reflect our past. That our purpose in life is not to be perfect and fit in, but it's to be a better, truer version of our past self.